Though they are of 12 and 13, but they are very much matured than their age. Jacopo and Nicola's sister Lucia was suffering from the tuberculosis of spine. He saw that these two boys were shabby, and the driver tells that you can get better strawberries when you enter the city. Because of sunburn, they were looking brown and the hair tangled. They did not worry much about their appearance. Hello everyone, this is Shobita S. Aradhya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, a temple of excellence. I welcome you for the session, and today we are going to discuss about two gentlemen. Who are these two gentlemen and from where they are? They are from the city Verona, two gentlemen of Verona. This we are going to study in two sessions, and in the first session, let us get introduced. And here we have, first we are going to study or learn about the author, then we'll go to the title. Further moving, we'll learn the theme of this lesson and significance of the lesson. Then we'll know what is the moral we are going to learn here and which are the characters in the story. Then we'll discuss the summary, and then we'll go for the question answers which are important, which are supposed to be asked for your examination, and finally we'll conclude the chapter. So let us move on quickly without wasting any time. Author of this story is A.J. Cronin. He was a Scottish novelist and a physician. Yes, he was a Scottish novelist and also a physician, and he combinedly wrote on realism with social criticism, for which he had a large followers of Anglo-American readership. So many Anglo-American readers followed him for his type of writing, that is realism with the social criticism. So he wrote about the social problems. He criticized the conditions in the society. So this is about the author A.J. Cronin, and this is the person A.J. Cronin. So next we'll see that the title, why is it named as The Two Gentlemen of Verona? Who are these two gentlemen? They are not the big guys, they are not the adults, but they are small boys of about 12 and 13 age. This is about two boys of age 12 and 13. So what they did, so that the author is calling these boys the gentlemen, that we are going to see. Why is it called so? Because here one thing about the title, it is the ironic mannered title. So it is in irony representing. So here the two boys, though they are too young, they are like adult. So it is the irony shown here, and a very young age. At the very young age, these two boys, Nicola and Jacopo, became orphan. They lost their parent. They faced many hardships in their life. At a very young age, they became orphan. They lost their father and mother, and they also faced many hardships in life. And they worked immensely and exhaustively. They were trying to earn money, and for that they worked continuously for hours, and they did not do a single job. They did different jobs. So here the title, as I told you, it is in a ironic manner. So it is not true gentlemen, but these two boys are like the gentlemen. Next, the theme of the story. The theme tells us love, responsibility, and staying happy. Though these boys were orphaned, they were working whole day immensely and exhaustively. They were happy, and all they were doing, it was for love and their responsibility. At such a young age, they took the responsibility. So we learn this theme in this lesson. And the revival of the author's hope on mankind. Author is trying to bring light to the mankind. So how we are suffering, our surrounding people are suffering, and what we are doing to them. So he is trying to bring out that in this story. Next is significance. The story is hope for the society in general. In general, this story gives a hope. So it is very important to have hope. So it is not for one or two person. In general, to the whole society, this lesson teaches hope. And also, the two boys are matured beyond their age. Though they are of 12 and 13, but they are very much matured than their age. They have taken the responsibility. They are earning. They love. They are happy. So this is the maturity of these two boys. Next, we'll see moral. What is the moral we are learning? The moral we learn is selfless and happy service to each other. Each other in the family, in the society, which has to be selfless and also happy service for every person. And make every moment of life a memorable one, the most memorable and enjoyable one. So, how these boys made their every moment very enjoyable and memorable. So, that we are going, so that is the moral we need to learn from this chapter. Next, going the characters. What are the characters in this story? They are Nicola and Jacopo. These two are brothers. One is 12 years old and the other is 13 years old. And Lucia, their sister. She is about 20 years old. And the narrator, writer himself is the narrator here. Narrator and narrator's driver. These are the characters which we are going to see in this chapter. Next, we'll start with the summary. So, what is the story all about? It is about a heartwarming story about human relationships and family ties. How we are tied to each other in the family. How our bonding will be. What we do to the family members. So, all these together, it is a heartwarming story about human relationships, that too in the family. And here two brothers, Nicola, the elder one who is 13 years old, and Jacopo, the younger one, he is 12 years old. So, Nicola is the eldest and Jacopo is the younger one. They are 12 and 13 year age children. And they were selling strawberries in the outskirts of the city of Verona. What were they doing? In the beginning, I told you they were doing many jobs. So, one was selling strawberries in the outskirts of the city of Verona. And if you know about Verona, it is said it has a reputation that Romeo and Juliet were living here. They have lived there in this city of Verona. And these two boys took care of their sister, Lucia, who was suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. Jacopo and Nicola's sister, Lucia, was suffering from the tuberculosis of spine. So now you might have guessed why they were doing different jobs and why they were working continuously, immensely and exhaustively. The narrator buys the biggest basket of the strawberries from the boys. These boys were selling the strawberries on the outskirts of the city, and when the narrator enters the city, in the entrance itself, these boys stop their car and they show the strawberries. Here one thing happens, that is the narrator wants to buy the strawberries from these boys because he connects to these boys. So somewhat he feels, I should buy strawberries from them. They were fresh with green leaf around, but the driver, he sees the shabbiness of these boys. These two boys did not wear a neat dress. Their dress was not that neat. So the driver stops the narrator here, but narrator, he buys the biggest basket from the boys because he wanted to give the boys something because they were too young and their approach was so good. Nicola, he wore a jersey and cut off khaki pants. They were not in complete proper dress. So Nicola was wearing a jersey and also a cut off khaki pant. This is the appearance of Nicola. The other means here, Jacopo wore a shortened tunic gathered in loose folds about his skinny frame. Means he was very thin and what he was wearing was a short, the pant which came till his knee and the folds about his skinny frame. So it was covering his skinny frame. That means he was very thin. The two boys had brown skin, tangled hair and dark earnest eyes. So these two boys were brown skinned as they were doing many jobs. So their skin had become dark, that is the sunburn. Because of sunburn they were looking brown and the hair tangled. They did not worry much about their appearance. So it was not neatly combed. They were tangled hair and dark earnest eyes. So eyes were dark and very enthusiastic. The narrator enters the beautiful city of Verona. After buying the strawberries from these two boys, the narrator, he enters the city of Verona. If you see the history of this city had medieval streets. So the city was built during the medieval period and the streets were resembling the streets of medieval age. So there were no much changes in the building of city. So and the splendid buildings, the buildings were very splendid in the city of Verona. So this is where the two boys were living and the narrator enters this city. It is said that Romeo and Juliet lived here. So they lived here in their lifetime. So this city is very popular there. And the boys, how did they lose their parents? So they lost their mother at very early age and due to the bombing on the city during the Second World War. During Second World War, the city lost its bridges. So there was much harm to the city during Second World War, but it did not harm the charm and gaiety of the buildings and the city. So the city maintained the same gaiety and charm. This is about the city. So this is all for today's summary and the remaining part of the lesson will be discussed in the next session. But before that, let's discuss some question answers. So which are the short answer type questions that can be asked for your exams? Those are, why does the narrator first meet the two boys? So where he meets these two boys? He meets the two boys in the entrance of the city of Verona. And why doesn't the driver approve the narrator to buy fruits from the two boys? Because he saw that these two boys were shabby and the driver tells that you can get better strawberries when you enter the city. What were the names of the two boys? They were Nicola and Jacopo. And how old were they? They were 13 and 12 years old. How was the appearance of the two boys? So they looked very shabby and their dress was not the proper one. They mix and matched and it was loose to them. It did not fit to their skinny frame. So this is the appearance of the boys. Which city did these two belong to? They belong to the city of Verona. Who has the reputation of living here in this city? It is Romeo and Juliet. What happened to the bridges of Verona? They were destroyed in bombing during the Second World War. So the Second World War bombing had damaged the bridges of Verona. Next, if we go, the long answer type questions. Which are the possible questions in this part of lesson? Describe the appearance of two gentlemen of Verona. So you have to write about their appearance, how they were, how their eyes was, which color they were, their tangled hair, their dressing. All those has to be written here. Then explain the encounter of the narrator and two boys. So how they met in the outskirts of the city, that you are going to write here. So these are the long answer type questions possibly which can be asked in your examination. So what does we conclude? We can conclude that the story till now gives us a sketch of these two boys, how they were, and also their appearance, age, name, all these details we know now. And the glance of city of Verona, its history, who lived there, what is the reputation, how were the buildings, how were the streets, all those we learned in today's session. So all these are for today's session, and in the next session we will discuss about the two boys and also the narrator's stand about the boys. What happens between the boys and the narrator, that we'll be discussing in the next session. Thank you.